According to a 2022 report by the OECD, the world produced a total of 353 million tons of plastic waste in 2019. Plastic pollution is one of the challenges of today. In this video, we will discuss the impacts of plastics to our environment, from individual organisms to ecosystems. Some global plastic statistics: 50% goes to landfills, 19% is incinerated, only 9% is recycled, and 22% is dumped or maybe burned, or reaches the oceans. In 2019, plastic leakage to the environment, mainly due to improper waste management, reaches the value of 22 megatons globally. In the Philippines, an estimated total of 2.15 million tons of plastic is consumed by Filipinos every year. Only 9% of the said amount is recycled and 35% is assumed to leak into the environment. What are the impacts of plastic to both terrestrial and marine environments? Let's start with impacts to organisms. Ingestion of plastic by animals have caused millions of land and marine animal mortalities every year. Plastics block digestive tracts, pierce organs, cause liver and cell damage and internal bleeding and organ failure, cause disruptions to reproductive systems, starvation, and choking of animals. Plastic entanglement on animals, including corals and sponge colonies, cause strangulation, wounds, deep cuts and slices in their bodies, loss of limbs, entrapment, restricted movement, drowning, and death. Getting animals' heads in plastic food containers result to overheating, suffocation, dehydration, starvation, and death. Microplastic: these are the tiny plastic particles less than 5 millimeters long. They pass through the digestive system and are expelled without consequence. Microplastics cause reduced growth in fish, liver and cell damage, disruptions to reproductive systems. According to UN, there are already more than 51 trillion microplastic particles in the oceans. Chemical pollutants in plastic can leach to the environment and can harm organisms. Endocrine disruptors can interfere with hormones and disrupt breeding of marine animals. Styrofoam products contain possible carcinogens that are toxic when ingested and can damage animals' lungs, nervous systems, and reproductive organs. Not just to organisms, plastics have negative impacts to population as a whole. 700 species, including endangered ones, have interacted with plastics and had negative effects on them. Plastic fragments are found in 86% of sea turtle species, 44% of seabird species, and 43% of all marine mammal species. Plastic also affects the interaction of different populations in the community. Marine mammals can be entangled in plastic debris, making them easy prey for predators. They can also get trapped and entangled in plastics, preventing them from being mobile to hunt for food. Predator-prey and other relationships are also affected by plastics in the environment. In terms of population growth, evolution, and extinction, exposure of the water flea to nanoplastics reduced its survival, in some cases causing mortality of up to 100% within the studied population. When these water fleas were fed to fish, the nanoplastics were found to cross the blood-brain barrier and caused lower feeding and movement rates. Plastics and their associated chemical pollutants can pass up the marine food chain and food web. Sinking microplastics can be consumed by plankton and other tiny organisms, which serve as the base of marine food webs. Disruptions in efficient biological processes could affect the amount of food reaching the seafloor, causing changes in seafloor ecosystems. With plastic moving through the food chain, the attached toxins can also move and accumulate in animal fat and tissue. This process is called bioaccumulation. Chemicals are often added to plastic during the production process. These chemicals can leak from the plastic, even when that plastic is inside the body of an animal. Not only has plastic pollution entered the marine food web, it is affecting the productivity of important ecosystems like coral reefs and mangroves. Smothering is when plastic pollution deprives corals, sponges and bottom-dwelling animals of light, food and oxygen, making sediment oxygen deficient and reducing the numbers of organisms in the sediment. Also, corals that interacted with plastics have a greater risk of contracting diseases than those that do not. A 2020 study revealed that terrestrial microplastic pollution has led to the decrease of species that live below the surface, leading to less fertile soil. In addition, chlorinated plastic can release harmful chemicals into surrounding soil and groundwater. What are the impacts of plastic to the ecosystems? It destroys our terrestrial and marine ecosystems. Another impact is plastic's huge carbon footprint or its contribution to the increase of greenhouse gas emissions. 3.4% of global emissions or 1.8 billion tons are derived from the life cycle of plastics. Several regions have already exceeded plastic pollution thresholds beyond which significant ecological risks can occur. Plastic in the environment upsets that balance where species adapt to their environment. Plastic pollution has increased rapidly that animal species haven't learned how to deal with it, disrupting their interdependence. Plastic pollution is a threat to biodiversity. Environmental degradation occurs in the upstream, as extraction, fracking, production of plastics and chemical additives release toxic substances into the air. With over 170 trillion plastic particles afloat in the oceans, it is an estimated $13 billion in annual damage to marine ecosystems. In this video, we have seen how plastics negatively affect the environment, from the individual organisms, populations of species, communities, and to ecosystems. The plastic problem is urgent that it is predicted that 99% of marine species will consume microplastic by 2050 if nothing is done to slow down plastic pollution.